This is the Congo, one of the world's most unexplored regions. And in this video, I will be attempting to survive 100 days here in the Congo River Basin. While I survive, I will be trying to restore a rundown zoo by locating 8 iconic animals of Central Africa. But this won't be easy, as I'll have to navigate the aggressive wildlife, violent storms, and of course, the ancient folklore. But with that being said, let's begin. Now, before we get into the video, there is somebody that I want you to meet. His name is Boots, and he is the newest addition to the family. He's about 4 months old, but yeah. You have anything you want to say? No, but he wants to play with the microphone. Okay. Anyways, there's also one more thing that I want to talk about, and I think you all know what it is. It's Name Hero. If you want to play Minecraft with your friends, but you can't find a good affordable server host, or a server host that works, then Name Hero is the choice for you. Name Hero is not just affordable, but is also very reliable. And beyond that, Name Hero also has a very easy to use server panel, which matters a lot to me, trust me. I've used a lot of server hosts, and Name Hero has the simplest panel. Even if you need help, well, they have 24/7 support. But beyond that, if you just want in-game help, well, Name Hero has a lot of tutorials that you can use. And look, I could tell you that they are affordable and reliable all day, but I'm a bit biased. So, let's take a look at their reviews. Boots is meowing outside my door. I think he wants to do this segment with me. What do you have to say about Name Hero, Boots? That's okay. Alright, I'll let you down. So, if you end up getting a Name Hero server, be sure to use my affiliate link. It's in the description, and that way they'll know that you came from my channel. But with all of that being said, I won't keep you any longer. Let's get started with day. Alright, we are back in Africa. Seeing that I had spawned in near a lake, I decided to go ahead and get wood. Only as I did, I heard an animal. What are you? Hello? I feel like trying to eat you would be a really bad idea. You're gonna hurt me pretty bad. Oh! Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Alright, yep, that's... I shouldn't have even tried. From here, I went to mine some stone. And after collecting some, I then went ahead and crafted stone tools. I also started smelting sand in order to make glass. That way I could craft these water bottles and drink the dirty water that was in the lake. Now it was time for me to take a look around the area that I had spawned in. Oh no. I don't want more mosquitoes. No. No, it was way too close. Yeah, I hadn't seen these guys since Kenya, and I was not happy to see them again. Okay. Oh, okay. Anyways, as I continued along the riverbank, I soon saw some fins in the water ahead. This meant that I had to be nearing the ocean. There's a small little structure. Alright. I swam over to the wooden building, only to find a little surprise inside. What you doing? I'm sorry that I hit your friend earlier. There's a chest here. Got a couple of Nemos and some paper. Canoe. That is helpful. I knew that I would need food soon, so I decided to have a rematch. Oh, you jump. I don't know why that was funny. That was... Hi. I then cooked the mandrill meat right as the sun began to set. As I headed to burrow that night, I found a piece of iron. But that was all that I found tonight. As the sun rose on day 2, I left my sandy burrow and healed up. I then looked at the sign that was on this shack and realized that I'm somewhat close to where I need to be. See, as I mentioned, in this video, I will be renovating a rundown zoo here in the Congo. But first, I need to find the zoo. Luckily for me, it's not too far from here, as the zoo is on an island between the cities of Brazzaville and Kinshasa. These cities are separated by the Congo River. Anyways, I am up here at Point NDN. So I began to row south in my new canoe, now heading for the Congo River. The hammerheads and jellyfish that I rode along soon vanished, as crocodiles replaced them. So I simply continued rowing along the beach. That is, until I saw this dock. I took some charcoal from the campfires here, and also took some string from these cobwebs. But I was 2 strings short of crafting a bed. However, that's when I spotted this sign that told me there were some gorges nearby. So I followed this path into the rainforest. As I continued along it, I saw some animals fighting. Yeah, it looked as though something had injured a monitor. So I just finished it off. Then as the sun began to set, I went off the trail to see if I was at the gorge yet. And sure enough, I was. The Gorge de Dioso. These red rocky cliffs are the product of millions of years of erosion, and they're only a 30-minute drive from the nearby city of Pointe Noire, one of the Republic of the Congo's most populous cities. If you decide to visit this natural wonder, then why not trek a little further, as you can also find the Musée Maluango just a few miles away. This is often listed as one of the best museums within the Congo, and it sits right here among the Congo's very own Grand Canyon. After finding 2 more iron during my night of mining, I decided to make my way back down the gorge, as I have a zoo to find. However, jumping down the side of the gorge was not the best decision, as I lost a lot of health from fall damage. So I went to try and catch some fish for food. But this is when I got way too close to a crocodile. Of course, now the sun was setting, and I still didn't have a bed. So I had no other choice but to row through the night. It was quite dark here in the rainforest, but thankfully, I soon reached the coast again. From here, I continued south towards the Congo River. Only it wasn't long before I spotted something huge in the distance. I rowed my way over to this oil rig, knowing that there had to be at least 1 bed on this thing. So I decided to wait here for the morning. As the sun rose on day 4, I began to make my way up the side of the rig. I then entered it and began my search for a bed. Hi. I looked around the living quarters until I got into some trouble. Oh, okay, you mean it. Okay. Yeah, now I was really low, so I decided to search the building from the outside. And soon enough, I found some beds. I quietly entered the room and grabbed one before leaving immediately. From there, I headed back to the beach and continued towards the Congo River. Now you might be wondering what these oil rigs are doing here. Well, right in between the Republic of the Congo and the DRC, you can find a tiny piece of Angola. This municipality is called Cabinda, and it's well known for its oil, and also making the Congo borders kind of confusing. Anyways, as I made my way further south along the beach, I eventually found myself at the mouth of a huge river. And sure enough, this was the Congo. Only now, it was raining. I knew I needed more food, so I pulled my canoe over and went hunting. I found this bongo pretty quickly and knew that I had to hunt it. Only it fought back and almost killed me. Anyways, I ended the day by cooking my bongo meat. The next morning, I continued up the Congo River, now on the lookout for the zoo. Since it's between two cities, I figured it would be pretty easy to spot. But unfortunately, I didn't see anything today. Yeah, I just did a lot of rowing. Finally though, the next day, I found myself rowing between the cities of Brazzaville and Kinshasa. Now Brazzaville is the capital of the Republic of the Congo, and Kinshasa is the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And they just happen to sit right across from each other, with the Congo River dividing them. This makes them the two closest capital cities in the world. But of course, in this series, I can't visit cities. And after all, I have a zoo to find. A zoo that was definitely on the island ahead of me. I docked my canoe and followed this path that led around the side of the island. Zoo buildings soon came into view, and then I found myself at the entrance. I think this is the entrance. That's probably where you get tickets, right? I would imagine that I would start here. I can't see his title because of his hat. Mbote Smitty, I'm so glad you made it. Welcome to the Mbamo Zoo of the Congos. This zoo is dedicated to all of the wonderful wildlife that you can find in both the DRC and the Republic of the Congo. But we've had some issues with gathering the wildlife. Well, the Congo is very difficult to search in. Lots of dangerous animals, rapids, and even some creatures that people would call folklore. I know those creatures are real. Yeah, alright, what creatures are we talking about here? Doesn't matter. I saw what you did with that zoo in Brazil, and I really need your help here. You'll find 5 different enclosures here that will house a total of 8 animals. You can start with any of them. Thank you for being here, Smitty. Yeah, alright. Now it was time for me to see what enclosure I wanted to start with. Alright, what is all this? A bar? That's definitely not much of a bar. Cafeteria. There better be food in here, because I really need food. I feel like food should be complimentary for me, but, you know. I finally found some food that evening. Okay, we found food. I feel like this might be for the animals, but you know what? I need food. It was now time for me to start on the first enclosure. It's a nice exhibit, alright. What do you have for me, Anya? Are you ready to learn about the wildlife that you'll be finding for the Likouala exhibit? Yes? Great! For this enclosure, you'll be finding a red river hog and a western lowland gorilla. They can be found along the Congo River and in the rainforest within Likouala. How do I get there? Good question. I have instructions written in the book behind me. Just please be careful when you arrive there. Our last zoo explorer hasn't been heard from. Actually, could you also try and look for him? Sure, yeah. I guess I would need to know where he went missing. Near Lake Tele, there's a small village called Boha close to the lake. Maybe try asking them where he is. So with that, I began my quest for the first enclosure, where I'm meant to travel up to the Likouala department of the Congo and find a western lowland gorilla, along with a red river hog. Oh, and I'll also see if I can find that lost zookeeper. Okay, so let's look over how exactly to get to Likouala first. I have to follow the Congo River north through the rapids, row through the heart of the Congo basin, and then she's put a blue canoe there. I have to take the left path, alright. I found what looked like rapids that evening, so I began to row up them. The next morning, I took a look at the wildlife nearby, but then regretted doing so as a bug attacked me. Oh, and this hippo also chased me. So yeah, I just continued up the rapids, and even past this cool waterfall. Then I began my descent, which soon filtered out into this large river, and based on the directions that Anya had given me, I was now in the heart of the Congo River Basin. This is the Congo Basin, the second largest river basin in the world, right behind the Amazon. This basin covers 6 countries and is larger than the entirety of Alaska, but its importance far exceeds its size, as the Congo River Basin is one of the most biodiverse regions in the world, housing a fifth of the world's living species and 70% of Africa's forests. This is one of the most naturally significant places on Earth, and who knows what wonders these rainforests are still hiding. Okay, so now that I'm in the heart of the basin, I have to find this blue canoe and take the river to the left. I rode along each grassy island looking for this blue canoe. However, that's when I spotted some crocodiles and a rather unexpected animal. What is this? That's the hog. That's the hog, isn't it? Yeah, because it has those big, what are they, ears, I think? That's when an insect attacked me. Ooh, wait, what is that? Ooh, bug. That is bad bug. So I fled to the water, where I then healed up among the crocodiles. I now had to craft a lead for the river hog. So I smelted some iron, which I then used to craft this knife. I then used the knife to collect straw. And from there, I was able to craft a lead and attach it to the hog. Alright, there's a crocodile right there, so we're gonna have to be very... Ooh! No! 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 Go fast! Go so fast! Go! He is right there! Eventually, we snuck our way back to the canoe. Get in. Oh, you can't get in the canoe like that? And continued to row up the river. The next morning, my river hog and I rode further up the Congo, until we spotted something. Oh, is this the blue canoe? There's just a little camp here, it looks like. So from here, I took the river path on the left, which will hopefully lead me to both a gorilla and a zookeeper. I kept rowing up this path for the rest of the day, and even into the night. That is, until I heard something among the trees. The next morning, I decided to go ahead and search for a gorilla. So I attached the hog to this post, and then headed into the rainforest. As I searched, I saw some more mandrills. And not long after, I saw this strange block that ended up being a termite mound. Anyways, I had no luck with finding a gorilla. And as an evening rainstorm began, I headed back. The rain continued through the next morning, so I gathered my hog, and we continued rowing further up this river. Only a little while later, I saw something moving in the tree line. Something very large. I swear I just thought I saw something move. You see that? I carefully approached the towering figure. What is this? Ooh. That's a tail. That is a tail. Not wanting to die, I simply continued rowing up the river, trying to forget about whatever I had just seen. That same evening, the misty silhouettes of buildings came into view. This told me that I had arrived at the Boha village that Anya had mentioned. Come with me, pig. It's empty here. I do not know why. I explored the village some more on day 13, but yeah, there wasn't anything helpful here. No trace of any zookeeper. So after tying the hog to another post and crafting a shield, I continued up this path that led into the rainforest. As I did, I saw some more mandrills. Hello. Only one of them definitely was not a mandrill. That is a gorilla. That is, okay. I quickly crafted a lead and attached it to a post. Okay. Before following the path further, hoping to find this zookeeper at the end of it. But that's when another storm started up. After all, I am in the rainforest, but this did make it really hard for me to see ahead. Ooh. That's not a branch. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh! As it began to climb down after me, I swam away, knowing that I was in the presence of the monster of Lake Tele. This is the Mokele-Mbembe, a name that roughly translates to one who stops the flow of rivers in the Lingala language. This legend is rumored to live in the Congo River basin, most notably around Lake Tele, where locals frequently share stories of their encounters with it. Its description lines up closely with that of a sauropod, a type of dinosaur that should be long extinct. This, of course, has led to skepticism and claims that it is simply a misinterpreted elephant. However, the locals swear by its existence, and claim that the Mokele-Mbembe is a violent creature that has killed many of their fishermen. We may never know the truth, but what we do know is that this creature is very real to those who have encountered it. After my close encounter with the legend last night, this morning I now saw someone standing out on a raft in the lake. That's the Zookeeper. That has to be him. So I swam over to him. Yes, finally someone is here. Please act quickly, the creature will try and kill you. Alright, what do you need me to do? Just dive down and get me my map. It's in the ruins of my canoe. That's the only way I can get back to the zoo. Alright, you need the map. Okay. I began searching the murky waters for his canoe. Alright, let's find this map. But that's when I saw it again. Of course, I couldn't find the canoe anywhere, thanks to how cloudy the lake water was. But as the creature continued to lurk below the waves, I simply kept searching. And eventually, I found it. This looks like a canoe. Okay. Map. Ooh, that's helpful. That's really helpful. Okay. I got the map to the Zookeeper, but there was more loot inside the chest. So I dove back under. This time I ended up right next to the creature. But I collected it just in time, and then swam away. From there, I headed back to the trail and began my trip home. On the way back, I ended up using both of the cage traps I had found. And after a lot of rowing, I finally reached the zoo again on day 19. And from here, I got right to work on the enclosure. This enclosure didn't really need too many improvements, so I mostly just cleaned it. And so, as I place these two in their new exhibit, let's talk about them. Red river hogs are named for the reddish color that their hair has. They also happen to be pretty good swimmers, as they are often found cruising through rivers, and can even hold their breath for around 15 seconds. These guys are also, on average, the smallest pig in Africa, and they are found throughout Western and Central Africa, with a large population existing here in the Congo. Now, the Western lowland gorilla is actually native to the Congo basin, and is different from other gorilla subspecies thanks to their more defined brow and different nose shape. Gorillas in general are the largest living primates, but the Western lowland gorilla is the smallest subspecies. One of my favorite things about this particular subspecies is that their scientific name is literally gorilla, gorilla, gorilla. I genuinely kind of love that. But unfortunately, this subspecies of gorilla follows other subspecies in being critically endangered, with their population falling by more than 60% within the last 20 to 25 years, according to the World Wildlife Fund. And even though there are many groups currently trying to protect this gorilla, the WWF also states that if all threats to the Western lowland gorilla were removed, the population would require around 75 years to fully recover. On day 20, I began work on renovating this seemingly abandoned building next to the enclosure. I thought maybe it could be a restaurant of some kind. So I went ahead and cleared out all of the cobwebs and logs, before then clearing out the gravel in this room. From there, I got to work on the dining rooms, by adding some lighting and placing barrels for the tables. The next day, I finished placing these tables, and then got to work on adding seats. Finally, I added a name for the restaurant. The only other part of the zoo near the enclosure was this playground, and honestly, it looked pretty clean. So my renovations on this side of the zoo are finished. Alright, I say we do this one. Bonjour, are you ready to hear about the 2 animals that this exhibit needs? Yes. Great, for this exhibit, you will need to travel to the Salonga National Park. There you will need to find a bonobo and a chimpanzee. Alright, where is this park? Head through the doors behind me and you'll find a GPS. You can use that to locate the park at the coordinates. Let me write this down. 500, negative 2800. Oh, and one more thing. Yes. Oh, I can't do one more thing right now. Now I don't get to see what the one more thing was. For all I know, it could be a warning about some terrible creature that I'm inevitably gonna come across. I began my trip to Salonga National Park, which is out here in the middle of the DRC. So with my GPS in hand, I set off north and reached the rapids that evening. I rode my way up through them the next morning, and eventually I landed back in the main river, only this time I had to head east. So I disembarked and trekked through the rainforest. As I made my way through the dense greenery, I came across both a leopard and a snake. But that afternoon, I saw something much stranger. After hearing something above me, I looked up, only to catch a glimpse of what looked like a large bird. What is this? However, the next morning, as I made my way to the treetops, this happened. Ooh! Ooh! What was that? The screeching noises followed me as I ducked down into the forestry. Yeah, I took cover quickly. It's the bird. I cautiously continued east through the forest, now a lot more vigilant than before. Soon enough, I came to a flooded forest biome. These are common throughout the western DRC, and so are its inhabitants apparently. I reached more wetlands the next day as it began to rain. Only now, as I rode along the many crocodiles, I could no longer see anything beneath the surface of the water. But luckily for me, I was able to peacefully continue east for the rest of the day. I followed the riverways further east on day 26. Only this is when I finally saw a sign of human life. There was an abandoned ship here that had run aground. I explored it, but found nothing useful inside. So I simply continued in the direction of the park. Rowing filled the entirety of day 27 as well, and I truly did feel like I was in the middle of nowhere. I've only ever felt this way in Antarctica, and honestly, I might as well be in the middle of the icy continent. Regardless, the next day, I found myself very close to where the coordinates of the park were. And sure enough, as I neared them, a small settlement appeared, telling me that I was now, finally, at the park. This is Salonga National Park, an extremely isolated reserve that is only accessible via water. But thanks to its rural nature, Salonga National Park is the largest tropical rainforest reserve in all of Africa. And it's the only national park where you can find bonobos, one of the two primates that I'm here to see. Within the park, you can find multiple villages that are home to the Ailima people. And because they don't hunt bonobos, the bonobo population is often higher around the villages. And perhaps that's also because Salonga National Park used to have a large poaching issue. But thankfully, the park upgraded its management and protection, meaning that the Salonga National Park and its inhabitants have a rather bright future. I explored the village before me, but once again, found it to be empty. However, I knew that there were likely bonobos nearby, so I headed into the forest and began my search. I didn't find anything for most of the day, but that afternoon, as I entered a new forested area, I kept getting glimpses of a little creature that was running around. Yep, it is just throwing stuff at me. Alright. Oh, there we go. So I put my cage trap down. Okay. Alright, yeah. Okay. That one was relatively easy. I then headed further into the park that evening to find a chimpanzee. After searching the rainforest some more the next morning, I decided to get back in my canoe and search from the water. As I did, I saw some elephants. Only I now noticed that I was out of food. So I crafted a fishing rod and fished through the evening. I continued rowing the next morning, searching for a chimpanzee. And soon enough, I did see some wildlife. Okay. Yeah, this hippo attacked me out of nowhere, so I rowed away fast. After getting to land, I healed up as best I could. However, I thought I'd seen another animal on the riverbank, so I carefully headed back as a thunderstorm began. I could barely make out what looked to be a primate, but there were so many hippos in the water. A flash flood began all around me, so I really had to move fast. I placed my canoe down, but then it got stuck right in front of this hippo. Oh, that's the hippo right there. Okay. Yeah, I immediately moved away from it. As I bridged over to my stuck canoe, I tried to fish it up towards me, but had no luck. So I tried the same thing with the hippo. And this actually ended up breaking my canoe. Yeah, I knew I had to jump down and get it. So I prepared myself. And then went for it. On the morning of day 31, I made my way back along the shore to try and see the primate. And sure enough, there was a group of chimpanzees here. I cautiously lowered myself down, and then placed the trap just as one began to approach me. Yet as I towered back up again, I saw that the trap had gone off. So I made my way back towards it, and collected it, before running as fast as I could. Hippo! Ooh! Over the next few days, I made my way back to the zoo. This travel was pretty uneventful, which I'm honestly okay with. And after making it back on the evening of day 37, I got right to work on the enclosure on day 38. Just like with the other enclosure, this one only really needed some cleaning. Lots of cobweb removal. But then it came time to do something that I was not looking forward to. I had to place the primates. I started with the bonobo, and perhaps that was a mistake, as this guy reduced me to 3 hearts and then started chasing me. I ran all around the enclosure trying to get away from it. There it goes. And eventually, I climbed up onto the roof, but I still couldn't heal. So with no other choice, I placed the chimpanzee while I was up here. Now I had to escape the enclosure to get to water. So I made my way up and over the large enclosure wall. And then down this tree, before finally reaching the river that evening. So yeah. Let's talk about these guys. Now I'm going to discuss these two at the same time, because they do have a lot in common, and not just with each other. See, bonobos and chimpanzees are our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, sharing over 98% of our DNA. In fact, humans, chimpanzees, and bonobos all shared a common ancestor around 6 or 7 million years ago. Now, aside from the similarities, bonobos are different from chimps due to their smaller size, head, and longer limbs. Bonobos are also a lot more likely to walk on 2 legs, and their facial color tends to be a lot darker than chimps as well. But unfortunately, on the side of similarities, both the chimpanzee and bonobo are endangered species, with the bonobo being found only in the DRC. This is due to deforestation and illegal hunting, which is truly incredible to me since we are so closely related to these two. Thankfully, there are many organizations working to fix this issue, but that's also why places like the Salonga National Park are just so important. On day 39, I decided to renovate the area around the enclosure, which mostly consisted of the bar and cafeteria. I did a lot of cleaning and cobweb removing. Oh, and I also cleared this rubble from within the bar, before then getting started on the interior. I crafted a lot of chairs the next day, and then placed them at the bar since I couldn't find stools to craft. Anyways, after adding some decorations, my renovations with this side of the zoo were now complete. The next morning, it was time for me to start on another enclosure. Alright, I want to do this enclosure, but if we're going to do this enclosure, then I have to explain the giant banana. So a little while ago, when I covered Panama, my artist thought that Panama banana would be a good catchy phrase. I said that it was not, because Panama and banana do not rhyme. So why would it be a good catchy phrase? Anyways, the rest of my team seems to think that Panama banana is a good catchphrase, and so now they try to sneak it everywhere. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. Part of me just wants to disassemble this statue, but I feel like that would be too mean. Anyways, let's see what we have to do for this enclosure. Hey again, Smitty. Ready to hear about the animal this enclosure needs? Yes. For this enclosure, you will need to find a pangolin. They may be small, but it's very important that you find one, as they are currently one of the most poached animals in the DRC. Alright, where can I find one? They can be found in the Kundelungu National Park. Just take the Congo River up and across the DRC until you find some rapids in another river that heads south. Take the southern river, and eventually you'll land in Kundelungu. You'll find an organization down there that has been protecting the pangolin population. They can point you in the right direction, but be careful. They keep mentioning some giant animal down there. What's new? I headed out of the zoo and reached the first set of rapids that evening. I then rode my way through them the next day, and eventually filtered back out into the main river, which I'll be following for quite some time, as Kundelungu National Park is all the way down here, meaning that I have a lot of rowing ahead of me. This rowing brought me into a new section of the Congo River on day 43, but that's all that was really new today, as I just rode non-stop into the evening. However, as I used my lantern to light my way through the night, I saw something up in the sky. I watched it fly around the stormy night sky. And then I continued on my way. I didn't find the other set of rapids until the next evening, where I then followed Samuel's instructions and headed south. However, the next morning, I was a bit confused, as I seemed to be going up some rapids anyways. Yeah, the waterway ahead of me was very steep, and I almost ended up drowning a few times. As I climbed in elevation, I also found myself getting cold for the very first time this episode. But that was the least of the surprises ahead of me, as I soon found myself at the edge of a massive waterfall. This is Boyoma Falls, one of the most powerful waterfalls in the world. In fact, these falls have the largest annual flow rate of any waterfall on Earth, cascading down in a series of 7 different falls. These falls were formerly known as the Stanley Falls, named after the Welsh explorer Sir Henry Morton Stanley, who is known for his exploration of Central Africa. However, the locals have always called it Boyoma, which is now what it's officially recognized as. But regardless of what you call these falls, there is no denying that they are one of the most impressive wonders within the Congo. As I tried to get a better look at the falls, I ended up going over them. Ooh, that's a tall waterfall! That's a cool waterfall. That is a cool waterfall. From here, I simply continued south, heading deeper into the center of the DRC. My rainforest surprises weren't over yet, as I followed the riverway south the next day, and eventually came across this shipwreck. Got a little shipwreck here. That's when I rode over something huge. What? Actually, what? Actually, wow. Next morning, I decided to approach it, but from a distance. So I climbed atop the shipwreck to get a better look. Ooh. It's inside the boat. Ooh. Yeah, I eventually decided to just leave, as I wanted to live. So I simply continued south for the rest of the day. I rode through the southern DRC for the entirety of day 48, making my way closer to the border of Zambia. But finally, on day 49, I found something. A building sat near the edge of this river, so naturally, I entered it. Oh, wait a minute, this is it's the Wild Horn. This must be the organization that they were talking about. I like what you guys have done with the place. Very nice. Can I talk to you? Oh, you have, okay. Hello again, Smitty. We met in Kenya, but you might not remember me. Hello. Our project leader is not currently here, but I can help you with whatever you're here for. Do you know where the pangolins are? Oh yes, that's easy. I always see them near Boyoma Falls. Just south of here. Alright, so I'm guessing, alright, just south, that means that... Alright, south. And with that, I set off to find this waterfall. As I rode further down the river, I soon entered a large lake with towering mountains and lots of wildlife. That's how I knew that I had reached Kundelungu. This is Kundelungu National Park, a natural sanctuary here in the southern DRC. This national park used to be a private hunting ground before it was recognized for its exceptional wildlife, with the government making it into a national park and eliminating all hunting activities. Thanks to the unique ecosystem here within the park, you can find animals like hippos and buffaloes, with a rare chance of also finding cheetahs and even lions. On the other side of the park, you can find Boyoma Falls, a 340 meter or 1,120 foot tall waterfall. In short, Kundelungu is unlike anywhere else in the entire Congo, and it is certainly worth the difficult trip to get here. As I began to make my way around the lake looking for this waterfall, I saw a few hippos. I then decided to row across the lake. And that's when I saw some zebras. Zebra. Oh. Hi there. Oh, that is a lion. That is a lion. That is a lion. Okay. Ooh, okay. I tried to go back, but the lion just chased me again. Oh! I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Time for me to go. Time for me to go. However, that's when I found this river that headed up into the mountains. This had some big waterfall potential, so I followed the river, even though it was very difficult to do so. Eventually, I reached the top, and sure enough, there was a waterfall on the other side. No, 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 not doing that again. Assuming that this was the waterfall, I now began my search for a pangolin. Oh, you know what? Fine. But I didn't find anything today. Yet the next morning, as I climbed the grassy steps adjacent to the falls, I spotted not just one, but 2 pangolins. That's it. That's it, isn't it? Come here. And it is just that easy. Even though I had already found a pangolin, I decided to spend the rest of the day rowing through the park. On day 52, I began my trip back to the zoo. I knew I was going to have to pass through the giant snake territory, so I continued north up the river, awaiting the shipwreck. As I got closer to it the next day, I pulled over and crafted some wooden armor. Then, I kept rowing, now ready to face it. Soon enough, the shipwreck came into view. Let's row over it and then come back around. Come on, come on. Ooh, yep, I saw it, I saw it. Okay. Now we come back around. I wanted to see this thing up close again, so I disembarked and headed towards it. I don't see it. The sun soon began to set. Oh, I see it, I see it. And then the rain stopped. It's really quiet now. I think I'm just gonna go. There it is. It's huge. It's actually huge. There you are. The giant snake of the Congo. This is as close as I want to get to it. Oh. Okay. Look at that thing. Not wanting to aggravate it, I just continued on my way. Over the next many days, I made my way back to the zoo. This was a long and uneventful journey. So while I row through infinite rivers, let's discuss the giant snake of the Congo. Now for this one, I have to give a little bit of historic context. See, the Democratic Republic of the Congo used to be owned by King Leopold II of Belgium. That's right, it wasn't even owned by Belgium. He claimed it as his own private land. In fact, he was able to do so thanks in part to that explorer that I mentioned earlier, Henry Morton Stanley, whose global reputation sank upon his association with the king. That's because Leopold's rule over the Congo led to an incredibly dark period in history. as in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Belgian king's reign was responsible for the deaths of millions of Congolese people, according to the United Nations. The fallout of this eventually led to the DRC gaining independence in the year 1960, but that's where we pick up, in 1959. This is when a well-respected colonel of the Belgian Air Force was flying his helicopter in the Katanga region, right around where Kundelungu National Park is. It was here that he and his co-pilot saw what they described to be a 50-foot long snake. That's more than twice the length of any snake alive today. But even more incredibly, he was able to snap a photo of the creature. This is no doubt one of the most interesting legends I've covered. But of course, the question remains, does a snake like this really exist within the unexplored forests of the Congo? I made it back to the zoo on day 61 and got right to work on the pangolin enclosure. This one was the easiest to fix, as I just had to patch this leak in the wall. And so, as I add the pangolin to the exhibit, let's discuss it. Pangolins are similar to anteaters, as they have long snouts that they use to scoop up termites and ants with. But they come with an extra layer of protection, as these scales on their back are tough enough to where a lion can't bite through it. These scales are also made of the same material that your fingernails are made out of, which is keratin. Here in the Congo, you can find 3 different species of pangolin, with one of them being the giant pangolin. So if you ever see a scaly anteater in the wild, just know that it's probably a pangolin. On day 62, I got to work on cleaning up the gift shop. This involved a lot of clearing, as well as taking down this caution tape, and fixing this redstone lighting. But with that, this part of the zoo is now successfully renovated. It was now time for the next enclosure, and I wanted to tackle the big one. Alright. Mbote, are you ready to gather the animals for this exhibit? Yes, I am. Nice, this exhibit should be the easiest one, since you only have to travel down to Zongo Falls. That's where you'll need to collect 2 forest elephants. Alright, where is Zongo Falls? Good question. Just head back south along the Congo River and take the first left. It's super easy, I promise. That's what everyone says. I don't think it's gonna be that easy. Now, Zongo Falls is just down here. Yeah, not far at all. And I'll be finding 2 forest elephants within the rainforest around the falls. I got in my boat and headed south down the Congo. And after weaving through some crocodiles, I took the first left and continued down it. The next morning, as I rode along the grassy tree line, I saw some red rooftops. I approached these strange little buildings and saw that there were multiple of them all lined up. They looked like hotel rooms of some sort. Anyways, after rowing just a bit further, I soon reached the very falls that I was looking for. Not far from the capital city of Kinshasa, you can find Zongo Falls, a 65-meter or over 200-foot tall set of waterfalls that makes this the perfect escape from the city. And just over here, you can find the Seli Safari Resort, a group of townhouses that sit near the falls and offer some great viewpoints. Zongo Falls might not be as impressive as Boyoma Falls, but that's what makes this unique spot the perfect place for a relaxing getaway. I woke on day 65 to an amazing view. And now, just like with the pangolin, I began my search around the falls for some forest elephants. Also, just like with the pangolin, I found the elephants rather quickly. This really was the easiest one so far. So I put one inside the box, and then led the other one. Only leading this elephant through the forestry was painful. Quite literally, as a scorpion came up and stung me. This reduced me to 3 hearts. Not wanting to risk anything, I decided to pull my tranquilizer gun out, and I shot the scorpion. Before then dispatching it, I brought the elephant down to the river and healed up. And that night, I stayed in one of the Selly safari houses. I made it back to the zoo on the evening of day 66. So I got right to work the next morning. I started with this collapsed bridge, which I knew was going to be a bit difficult to fix. Yeah, I spent the entire day tearing down this section, before then rebuilding it up above the next day. But now with the bridge fully fixed, I looked around the enclosure and didn't find much else to clean. So I placed the elephants. Now the African forest elephant is essentially a cousin of the African savanna elephant that perhaps you're more familiar with. These guys live in Central Africa, deep within the rainforests and wetlands of the Congo basin, and they are a good bit smaller than their cousins. But unfortunately, the forest elephant is most known for its elusive nature, as they are critically endangered, with the general population thought to be decreasing. Now this is due to many reasons, like habitat loss and the effects of war within the Congo, but the largest threat to the African forest elephant is poaching. On the bright side, both the Republic of the Congo and the country of Gabon have seen stabilization in their forest elephant populations, due to anti-poaching methods and conservation. But there is still a lot of work to be done for these shy giants. It was now time for me to start on the final enclosure. Hey, ready to hear about the animals this exhibit needs? Yes, I am. Great, the first animal will be an Okapi. If you follow the Congo River north until you reach the second set of rapids, you'll find the Okapi Wildlife Reserve at the end of those rapids. You'll be able to find one there. And the other animal? The other animal is a gray parrot. You'll find them over in the Verunga National Park. Just head east from the Okapi Reserve and you'll find yourself in the park. Alright, Emil, I will not let you down. Let's do it. Now the Okapi Wildlife Reserve is all the way over here, past the second set of rapids. Then even further east, I'll have to find the gray parrot within Verunga National Park, which sits right on the border with Uganda. And so, with my final quest in store, I set off for the Okapi Reserve, reaching the first set of rapids that evening. Over the next 2 days, I made my way back through familiar territory, rowing further east through the DRC. Oh, and I did see that giant bird creature again. But on day 73, I finally reached the second set of rapids. And this time, I rode up them. I made my way through the winding rapids for the entirety of this day. And also the next day. Yeah, this plus the rainy weather certainly made for some tedious travel. But of course, things had to get worse, as I soon reached another hippo stronghold. We are going to just row through as fast as humanly possible. Let's go. I ended up rowing right over a few hippos. But luckily, I was able to row my way through hippo country safely. I then decided to row through the night. By the morning, the storm had passed, and some buildings had appeared on my left. I searched these buildings and found some iron in one of them, which I began to smelt. I then found a building that actually had someone in it. Hello, Andre? Hey, you're with the zoo, right? Yes, I am. Well, great. Welcome to the Okapi Wildlife Reserve. This is a sanctuary for the incredibly rare Okapi. I can't... Ooh, that's the... Mosquito! Mosquito. I ran from the mosquito swarms, but soon got bit. There's so many mosquitoes! That's... okay. Alright, this is not good. So, upon reaching this building, I blocked off all of the windows and doors. But that's when I spotted a swarm approaching. That's not good. Don't tell me they can get through. No, okay, good. Never mind. I went straight for the river and rowed away. Okay. I returned to the Okapi Wildlife Reserve that evening, hoping that the cooler temperatures would drive the mosquitoes away. I then returned to Andre. Right, Andre, I don't know how you're still alive, but yeah, let's talk. Anyways, where were we? Well, great! Welcome to the Okapi Wildlife Reserve. This is a sanctuary for the incredibly rare Okapi within the Ituri Forest, here in the DRC. We house 5,000 of the roughly 30,000 Okapi that are left in the wild. I know that the Zoo of the Congos is involved in conservation and will take good care of an Okapi, but please do make sure that it has a happy living space. Thank you. Absolutely, Andre. You need not worry. From here, I went off to find an Okapi. Ooh, that's okay. That's an Okapi. That scared me. I feel so bad using the cage trap. If anyone can think of like a better way for me to collect animals, please do let me know. Having finally acquired an Okapi, the next morning, I headed back and got my iron, which I used to craft some iron armor. I also took some hay, and then continued east, now on the hunt for the gray parrot. I found a new river the next day, and just kept heading along it. However, later in the day, I saw the giant bird creature again. This time I went to approach it, but it disappeared before I got a chance to. Finally, after a bit more rowing, I found myself in a new environment on day 78. There were open savannas that housed a lot of wildlife, but it was the towering mountains that told me that I was in Verunga. This is Verunga National Park, one of the oldest national parks within all of Africa. Here you can find an array of incredibly diverse landscapes, such as swamps, huge mountains, open savannas, and of course, volcanoes, with the most famous of them being Mount Nyiragongo. This active volcano contains the world's largest lava lake, and it most recently erupted in 2021. Truthfully, Verunga National Park might be the DRC's most stunning park, offering some of the best views within Central Africa. I pulled over to search for the parrot, but I only found some elephants and some mountain gorillas. I continued rowing into this large lake, and that afternoon, I saw this river path leading up into the mountains. But upon following it, I didn't find anything too interesting. So on day 79, I ventured back down into the lake. And then I rode along the shore, hoping to spot a parrot in the tree line. However, that's when I saw this huge mountain ahead of me. I figured that this was Nyiragongo, so of course I went to climb it. This climb took a long time though, and it was really tedious. Finally, that evening, I reached the summit. And in the distance, I could see the nearby city of Goma. It took a while for me to descend down the volcano the next morning. I also ended up losing a lot of health thanks to fall damage. But near the base of the volcano, I saw some swampy wetlands. I decided that this would be a good place to search for the parrot. So I did just that. Oh. Where? Ooh! Okay. We go. I got to the water as fast as I could, immediately diving down beneath the surface. Okay. Okay. That is not a cool attack. That was not a cool attack. I then spent the evening trying to heal. I fished through the morning of day 81, with no giant bird creature to be seen. So after finally healing back up, I went to go and confront it, only it was gone. So I switched my attention back to the parrot, and searched for it throughout the rest of the day. Only the next morning, I spotted the creature again. I really had to make a decision here. And that decision was to prioritize the parrot. Yeah, it's not worth risking my life this late into the video. So I headed further into the forest, and eventually, that evening, I found the very animal I was looking for. Are you the parrot? Well, you are gray and you are a parrot, so I hope. On day 83, I decided that because I now have the parrot, I might as well take one last shot at the creature. So I got my tranquilizer gun out and went hunting for it. I found it that afternoon, and was actually able to hit it with a tranquilizer dart. The creature slowly fell to the ground, only it was still able to attack me. it did a lot of damage, and the gray parrot flew away, so I ran for my life, before turning around and using the rest of my ammo to shoot at the creature. But yeah, I had no luck at all. And to make things worse, the parrot did not, in fact, fly away. No! No! This does not look good for me. After another morning of fishing, I then went back to the same area that I had found the first parrot. And sure enough, that afternoon, I found another. So the next morning, I brought it straight to the river, and we started on the very long journey home. But while we do, let's discuss the creature in the sky. This is the Kongamato, a giant creature that resembles a pterosaur. And it is rumored to live in the rainforests of Central Africa. Now, unlike the Mokele-Mbembe, which has many local witnesses, the Kongamato is seen as more of a folklore figure, described by author Frank Melland, who published a book in the early 20th century that gives a description of the creature in its first ever documentation. Melland took the description of it from the Kawande people of northwestern Zambia, who allegedly told Melland that very few people see a Kongamato and live. So if this creature does soar through the skies of Central Africa, it's clearly one that should not be messed with. But on that note, it's also time for me to give the Congo its difficulty rating. Although I did play it safe here in the Congo, I still had some very close encounters with both mobs and insects. And hippos absolutely got to show just how dangerous they can be in this episode. So with all of that in mind, I give the Congo a respectable 7.5 out of 10 in terms of difficulty. I finally made it back to the zoo on day 95. So with that, I got right to work on the last enclosure. I went ahead and placed the parrot in the exhibit, before then cleaning what I could inside. I then had to remove a lot of sand from the Okapi enclosure next door. But the next morning, I placed the Okapi, now concluding the final enclosure. So, let's talk about them. This is an Okapi, the only living relative to a giraffe. These incredibly shy animals are native to the Ituri forest of the DRC, and for both of those reasons, they're also known as forest giraffes. But these gentle creatures face a serious issue today, as it is estimated that within the last 2 decades, their population has been cut in half. This is mostly due to illegal hunting. Yeah, I feel like this has been a recurring theme this episode, and sadly, that's just been the reality of the DRC within the last few decades. Now, I don't mention this to make the video bleak or sad, but rather to bring attention to the poaching climate within the DRC. Thankfully though, despite the dark few years that these shy animals have faced, efforts like the Okapi Conservation Project have been reporting positive results within the last few years. And the Okapi, while endangered, faces a brighter future now more than ever. But of course, we can't forget about the gray parrot, another rare native to Central Africa that also happens to be the largest parrot in the whole continent. These guys are some of the smartest birds on Earth, as they are able to mimic human speech better than any other parrot. And according to National Geographic, they have the cognitive skills of a 5-year-old child. Now unfortunately, these guys are also endangered. See, the gray parrot is the most popular pet bird, and while most gray parrots are transported legally, there are perhaps hundreds of thousands that are either stolen illegally or that die while being transported. But just like with the Okapi, there is some good news, as in 2016, a ban was placed on all international trade of this parrot, protecting a brilliant bird of the animal kingdom. On day 97, I got to work on adding some final touch-ups. After all, zoo review will be on day 99, so I don't have a ton of time here. I worked mostly on the main ticket building. Oh, and I also found this creepy room with one light in it. Anyways, the next day, I got to work on adding a final touch to the Mokele-Mbembe steakhouse. Yeah, look, I know it doesn't look great, but it's the thought that counts. Anyways, with my final improvements done, it's time for zoo review. Now this zoo is a special one, and honestly, a lot of the work here needs to be attributed to the person who made it, which is one of my builders, T. Anyways, starting with the enclosure, I think they all turned out great. The one that required the most work was the forest elephant enclosure, but yeah, it turned out really nicely. Now as for the zoo buildings, I absolutely love these. They have hints of Congolese architecture, and it really feels like a zoo that I would want to visit. So overall, I have to give this zoo an 8 out of 10. I would give it a higher score, but as I said, my builder did most of the work here. Either way, with all that being said, there is still one more day. I woke up on day 100 and headed out to the dock to do some fishing. As I did, I thought about the last 100 days and just what kind of a place the Congo has been. The Congo Basin is a place of infinites, seemingly infinite forests, wildlife, and wonders hidden along the river that gives life to Central and Western Africa. In fact, there are so many animals that I wasn't able to get to in this video, thanks to just how much there is to see here. But the Congo stretches through many countries, so I will definitely be revisiting this basin again in the future. This video was meant to focus on both the DRC and the Republic of the Congo, and even though these two countries are divided, they share a wonderful responsibility that lies within the animals, cultures, and forests here in the heart of this basin. A basin that can't be found anywhere else on Earth, because this unique and incredibly vast rainforest could only be the Congo. This was a pretty cool zoo, I will say. Alright, well, with all of that being said, it is about that time. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode.